Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are tuning in from today. My name is Anna McNaught, and I am your host today on day 2 of Adobe Live with my good friend and Photoshop legend, Jesús Ramirez. Welcome, Jesús. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantabulous this morning. How are you, Anna?
I am great. I am feeling good. I'm ready for another day of Photoshop. And everyone in the chat, nice to see you all. Welcome in Carol, Steve, General Kenobi. We got everyone in the house, all the usual faces. Nice to see you, as well as some new people coming in too. So hope everyone is doing well and ready to learn some Photoshop today. And just a quick reminder, be sure to head over to the Creative Cloud Express YouTube channel and subscribe for our newest addition to Adobe Live. You can hang out with Voodoo Val and learn some new fun things. And also just a quick note, if you're watching on YouTube, come join us on behance.net/Adobe Live so that you can join in on the fun and chat with myself and Jesús and ask any questions if you're stuck along the way. We definitely want this to be a two-way street of communication. So without further ado, Jesús, what are we going to be working on today?
More surreal compositing, just like we did yesterday.
Ooh,
I don't know if
love it.
I don't know if you remember, but yesterday I was saying that as you're explaining things, you kind of sometimes forget what you wanted to show. Yeah. There's something I wanted to show that I completely forgot. So I think that's where we're going to start today.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, let's just dive right into it. Everyone, let us know if you have any questions starting out here, and let us know where you are all tuning in from. What time is it for you right now? Or is it your morning, afternoon, or nighttime?
Yeah, I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area in San Ramon, California. How about you?
I am on the East Coast right now. Remember, we said we're not going to tell where I really am.
Yeah, it could be anywhere along the East Coast.
Exactly.
And we're not even going to disclose which continent.
Nope. I didn't even think of that. Good point.
Yeah, it could be any East Coast.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I wanted to show yesterday that I completely just forgot about is that we were working on a composite, which was, let me bring it up. I don't know if this is the final version, but this is one version of what we did yesterday. This is not the one that we completed on the stream. The one we completed on the stream had your photo in it. I think this is it. There we go. There you are, floating in this astronaut suit. But yes. The point is that we created this cube Earth. And what I wanted to show was that in Photoshop 2022 and newer, if you click on this icon here, it will bring up the Discover panel. And from the Discover panel, you can see this section called Hands-on Tutorials. From here, you can go to the section called Add Photo Effects. And in here, you'll see this one called Create a Perspective Bending Effect with a Layer Mask. When you click on that, it will open up this tutorial that I made, which shows you how to create basically the same thing, obviously with a lot less detail. It should take you about 2 minutes to complete. But when you click on Start Tutorial, Photoshop will open up an image, and you can just follow along with the coach marks to create the same effect. Obviously, I'm not going to go through the entire process, but as you can see, it's basically me sitting there telling you what to push on screen. So I would recommend that you check it out. Again, to get here, it's you have to go into the Discover panel, this icon here, or you could also press Control F and it brings it up. That's Command F on a Mac, and it's found under the Hands-on Tutorial section. And you can scroll to the photo effects section here. And most of these are mine. I would say, which one is not mine? The add texture to a photo with a blend mode is actually, the last 3 are not mine. All the other ones are mine. So if you want to check out my tutorials inside of Photoshop, check those out. And by the way,
That's so cool.
now that I'm talking about it, for example, this one here, I have a YouTube version companion tutorial for that one. So I'll just bring it up really quick now that I'm talking about it. Let me just open up my YouTube channel here and I'll show you.
That looks like my profile picture.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yes, it does.
I think, were you there when I made that?
You made it with Paul Tranny in San Francisco. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
I was there.
I think that was the day after we all hung out.
Yes, you were streaming in San Francisco just before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So here it is. It's easily apply the dual lighting effect in Photoshop. And I actually have a YouTube Shorts version of it. That's like 30 seconds. And then like a full step-by-step tutorial that's about 6 minutes. But essentially the companion to this tutorial in Photoshop. So that's what I was going to show yesterday that I completely forgot.
I'm glad you showed that today because that's such a game changer.
Definitely. So if you want to start out in Photoshop and create some cool effects, I would highly recommend that you check out all the tutorials in the Discover panel, not just mine, of course. Paul Tranny has some in there as well. Colin Smith from Photoshop Cafe. I think Matt Klaskowski has some there, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, let's get to today's stream and what we're going to learn. So I saw this photo on Adobe stock and I thought, oh man, we can create something cool with this for this Surreal challenge. But then I thought, I don't like the way it looks. So I'm going to start from scratch. So we're going to start completely from scratch because even though I like that photo and I like the concept, I'm not in love with how it looks. So I figure we could probably do a better job together. So let's see if we really can. I'm not really sure if we will be able to do it, but here we go. So what I'll do is I'll just create a document that's, 1280 by 1280 is like the standard Instagram size. I don't know how big you make your Instagram photos, but that's usually what I do, 1280 by 1280. I know some people do, 1080 by 1080 or something like that. Anyway, and what I'm going to do is just create a background with a solid color fill layer. And, we can change our mind. I'm just going to select something that kind of looks sky color-ish, like so. And you don't have to do this, but for some reason, if I don't need a layer mask, I just don't like having a layer mask on my layers. And as we discussed yesterday, I like to name my layers just so that I know what I have. And also I like to save my files in case I make a mistake. So I'll call it Tiny Planet Stream. That way, if something happens, I don't have to start from scratch. And what I'm going to do now is select the ellipse tool, make sure that I have shape selected. The color really doesn't matter at this point, but I'm just going to select a gray from this grayscale section, and I'm just going to create an ellipse. So this is going to be the surface where the buildings and everything that we're going to add to our composite will be. I'm just trying to determine the angle basically of the area. So we'll just say something like that. And I'll just call this main ground. And I'll press Control J, Command J to duplicate that main ground copy. And the copy layer, I'm just going to call depth, because this will be the depth of this ground. And I'm just going to push it down by using the arrow keys. I'm nudging it down with the arrow keys. And I can just make this darker just so that we could start seeing some of that depth. And I want these two to touch. So what I'll do is I'll just add a couple points here. I can use a curvature pen tool for that. I'll add one there. I'll add one on this side here. And then I can just use the white arrow tool to make sure that these sides touch. And you don't really have to do this next part, but I don't really need to have any pixels up here, so I'm just going to bring this down. Okay, we're going to be right back in just a couple of moments, guys. So give us a moment and we'll be right back.
Sorry about that, everyone. Not sure what happened there. I left you hanging in the dark, Jesus.
Yeah, I didn't even know you were gone. I was like, why is Anna so quiet?
Well, we are back. All right. I missed something really good. Looks like you're doing something cool.
Yeah, I'm just trying to create this depth here on this plate. I see that the people are having fun in the comments, saying that they're going to call NASA and talking about the flat Earth. But yeah, so I'm just trying to, like I could spend hours just trying to make sure that this looks, 100% perfect, but we don't have to worry about it in this stream. But I want to get it to look good enough. And that looks pretty decent. It's not 100% perfect, but that's okay. And just so we can start building it up, I'm going to go into the libraries panel. And I know I have photos of grass here. If not, we can go into Adobe stock. I think that maybe this one could work. And I haven't even licensed this one yet. So I will right click, license image. And it's going to take a moment to license it here from Adobe stock. And in case you don't know, there's images in Adobe stock that are both free. And in this case, this one's not free. So we'll take up one of my licenses. But as we discussed yesterday, if you're working on a project like this, you can go into stock.adobe.com, and not just a project like this, any project. And under the drop down here, you can select free, and you can just type in, what you're looking for. In this case, grass. And I probably would find something very similar. I could have just used one of these free ones if I would have just spent a few moments looking for some grass. But, anyway, I didn't do that. So I'll just use what I have here. So once you license the image, it gives you the high resolution version of it. And that's what we want. So what I'm going to do now is press Control-Alt-G on Windows. That's Command-Option-G on the Mac to create a clipping mask. A clipping mask simply means that the layer below controls the visibility of the layer on top. So now you can see how this just fits right in there. And I can find the right position for it and adjust it accordingly. So maybe something like this. I can also warp it, and I can just maybe drag it up like so, just to give it a little more shape. Totally up to you how you distort your images. But again, I won't spend too much time, and that looks pretty good.
That looks cool already.
Yeah, it's not looking too bad. I always freak out thinking, oh my God, it's gonna look terrible. And I was like, oh yeah, it doesn't look that bad.
Yeah.
Just so that we can keep building on the scene and we can worry about the smaller details later. I guess I can add some clouds. And I know I have photos of clouds here. These are some of the brushes that we used yesterday from Cal T. Webster. I showed you guys how to download those. But I'm trying to see what I can use for clouds. I know this one's might be a little too crazy. This one's might work. Let's open these up. All right, cool. So what I want to do is keep the clouds, but get rid of everything else. There's so many ways of doing that in Photoshop. I'll just do something that not a lot of people do. That way you guys learn something new. So if you go into the, image drop down, you'll have the calculations option. And the calculations option is really interesting because it allows you to take a channel and apply a source to it, much like the apply image. The difference is that you can use different sources. In this case, we'll use the same image as a source. And you also get different blending options. You get the add and subtract. Add is an interesting one because if you bring the offset by default is 0. But if you bring it down, it starts sort of darkening the image. And that's what we want. We want to make the sky darker, but sort of keep the clouds there. And that's what this is going to do for me. And it's also giving the clouds some shape, which is exactly what I want. These areas going to be too bright, but that's okay. We'll fix that in a moment. So I can just keep adjusting this accordingly until I get something that looks pretty good. Notice that the result is a new channel. I'll press OK, go into the channels panel, and you can see my new channel here. There it is. I can now use the burn tool with the midtones option selected under range, and I can just burn that brightness away because I only want the clouds and not really all that extra fog. And this looks pretty okay. Awesome. What I'll do now is hold Control on Windows, Command on the Mac, and click on the layer thumbnail to load it as a selection. By the way, here is a cool keyboard shortcut. Notice how the channels panel has shortcuts, right? So if I were to press Control T, it selects that channel. But if you add the Alt key, which is the Option key on the Mac, Command will be the equivalent for Control, and then that number, instead of selecting it, so like if I just press Control 6, it'll select the layer. But if I hold Control Alt and the number 6, it'll actually load the pixels in that channel as a selection. So it's a really cool keyboard shortcut to remember, because a lot of time when you save a selection, it will become a channel and it will have a keyboard shortcut attached to it. So then you can always quickly load any selection that you have saved. In this case, the selection that I have saved is the cloud image that we were working on. And if you don't know what I'm talking about saving selections, I guess I should explain it. You can make a selection, right? So I'll just make a selection. So I'm gonna make a selection. Selection really doesn't matter. There's my selection. And you can go into select, save selection, and I'll just call it live and press OK. So that selection is now saved. If I ever want to bring it back, I can go into select, load selection, and there it is, live. I'll press OK and it comes back. That takes too much time. But what I'm trying to show you is that it's here on the channels panel, live, and look, there's a keyboard shortcut. The easier and faster way of doing that is by making your selection, going into your channels panel, and then you can create a new channel and fill it with white. That's exactly the same thing. And instead of going into select and load selection and doing all of that, you already know what channel it's on, or what the keyboard shortcut is the one after the last one that you had. In this case, we had one before, so it's number 6. The next one will be number 7. So if you just press Control Alt 7, it just loads it as a selection and you can continue working with it. So that cool. Saves you a whole bunch of steps if you ever wanted to save a selection and keep reusing it. But anyway, if I hold Control Alt and the number 6, it loads those clouds as a selection. And I can go back into the solid color fill layer and I'll just create a white solid color fill. And those are my clouds. And I can bring it to my little planet here and place them accordingly. By the way, I'm surprised that all this is working.
Yeah, that was like so seamless.
Anyway, because sometimes I'll start explaining something and it doesn't work. And I'm like, oh man, I backed myself into a corner. But anyway, so I'm just gonna, size this up and place it, into position. Sometimes like I'll find something that I like this cloud here, but I'm not exactly sure how to fit the rest of the image. So what I'll do is I'll just drag the reference point, or as I call it, the pivot point, because that's the hinge where the rotates from. And I can just hold the Alt on Windows, Option in the Mac, and scale from that point. Because I kind of want to keep that cloud there in the corner, but I don't necessarily know where I want everything else. So I'll just place everything right about here. And actually, I skipped a step. What I really wanted to do was, first name the layer. I'll call it Clouds. And then convert it into a smart object so that I can scale it without losing resolution if I need to make it larger at some point. So I'm just going to bring it down and kind of do what I did earlier and see what looks good to my eye. Something like this. And since we're working non-destructively, we can always come back and make changes. We're not stuck with what we have. I'll create a layer mask, and now I can just paint with black. And then we have our sky. Nice. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm not happy with it. But again, we're working non-destructively. So I'll disable the chain link here so that I can distort the layer without affecting the mask. And now that I made that adjustment, I think the mask is too high, so I can bring it down by tapping on the down arrow key. Cool. And I guess I can start getting organized. I can select these layers here by holding Shift and clicking on them, pressing Control G on Windows, Command G on the Mac to put them into a group. And I can just call this ground. I guess I can call this group because that's the ground, I believe. There we go. Yep. And then we have the sky. And what I'll do is I guess I can add a highlight. I'll do that with a layer style. So you can double click to the side of the layer to bring up the layer style window. And you can add a gradient overlay. I'll select this one here that just goes from a color to transparent. I'll select radial, and now I can just move this anywhere I want. I'll place it right in the middle, more or less. And I'll change the blending mode, or I'm sorry, not the blending mode, the colors of the gradient on this color stop. I'll change it to white. And I'll also change this one to white as well. And notice so the stops at the bottom control the color, and the ones on top control the opacity. See how this one, the opacity set to 0? That's why we get that effect there. And then I can control, like if it's like a tiny little circle or a big circle or whatever it is, by adjusting this here. So that seems to look pretty good. I can also change the blending mode. We'll try overlay. I'm actually not happy with how any of this really looks. Maybe bring down the opacity a little bit. Now that I see it, I think I might want to increase it more, something like that. And you can always come back and change it, right? This is why we're working non-destructively. And that's the effect that created. Now that I'm looking at this layer, I think I may want to add another gradient overlay, but this one, I'm going to make it linear, and I'll change it to multiply. And this one will be, I guess we can try black and see how this looks. Like so. And then change the angle to 90. See if that, there we go, 90. Maybe try overlay. Yeah, I think I like overlay better. And just kind of darken the bottom part a little bit so it's not the same as the top. And I'm doing this with layer styles, so it's all non-destructive. Cool.
Yeah, it's so cool that you did it that way, because I love seeing you work. You work in such a unique, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but you work in a way that I guess you're maybe supposed to work in Photoshop. And I end up kind of working more as a painter in Photoshop, and brushing things in and brushing my highlights in and my shadows. And so this is really cool to see you using gradients like that to create your light and shadow.
Well, I'll say that there's no right or wrong way.
That's true.
At the end of the day, what matters is the image. But I started working in such a linear way that you can always come back, because I was trained as a web developer. So I did web design, then web developing. So I did both the graphics and the coding throughout my career as a web developer. So everything that I did needed to be editable easily. So then that's how my mind started working, that I needed to always come back and make changes. We were working on 2-3 designs a day, and I hated getting PSDs that were really, really bad. So I was always very proud that my PSDs were easy to edit.
Yeah, yours are so clean. I mean, just the way you organize everything. I had a friend look at my PSD files to try to animate it, and he was like, this is a different language, and it makes absolutely no sense, and it's the messiest, most terrible organization I've ever seen. I was like, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I'm trying to think. So I'm trying to see what we can do next. Okay, so I know I have some images of why not? I'll use the ones that I have here, because I wanted to put buildings in here now that we're this far in, and I know that I have a couple barns here, and one of the issues that's going to come up, and we'll try it with this one, we'll see if it works. I can already see that the issue is perspective, right? Even though this is a fake world and there's no real horizon, there needs to be perspective in order for this thing to look realistic. So what I'll do is I'll work on this layer separately to isolate it, and then I'll keep bringing things in, and I guess I can close some of these windows, since we have a whole bunch of, well, not bunch, but we had 3, and we don't need all 3. But I'll license it first. We don't need this cloud layer anymore, and we don't need this photo, which is the one that we got from. Basically, I'm already there. See the difference?
Yeah.
I just didn't really like how they did it. And obviously I still need to work on the, this part and try to make the blades come out. And I still need some work, but we're basically there. Cool. Now that this is licensed, I can double click on it to open it. And I guess I'll use the quick selection tool for this, just to click and drag around the main subject. And just because we're in a new version of Photoshop, why not? I'll try the object selection tool. I'm actually kind of curious to see if the object finder feature is going to be able to select this barn just by hovering over it. Oh, that's a really good job, actually.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. I guess it missed just a tiny little bit of this top part, but that's okay. You can always press the Q key on the keyboard to enter the quick mask mode, and you can just use the brush tool to paint. And I'm just going to paint that in. And I can tap on the X key to switch over into black as my foreground color. And I can just paint that away. And I think we talked yesterday about this trick. You can click once, hold shift and click again, and you create a straight line in between the 2 points. And that's what I'm doing here to hide these pixels. And I'm only painting them in because of you, Anna, because you're a painter. So I want you to feel at home.
Awesome. Thanks. I know. I'm like, oh, that's how I would have done it. But I feel like that's not what you would have done.
You know what? We talked about it yesterday. Sometimes you feel like using a certain tool and other days you don't. I think we were talking about the pen tool yesterday.
Oh, yeah. I never feel like using the pen tool.
on some things I might, but you just never know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I can spend all day fine tuning the small details here, but I keep seeing red that I don't want. And by the way, in case you don't know, the red overlay simply indicates the pixels that are not selected. When I press the Q key again, it'll come back, the selection will come back. And actually, now that we're talking about it, here's a trick. So we talked about the minimum and maximum filter yesterday, that it works on masks to contract or expand the mask, but it also works in a quick mask mode. So I can go into filter, other, and select minimum, and I can increase the radius, which will shrink the mask. And I'll do something more intense so that you can see that. See how the mask is shrinking? So when I press OK, it will apply that that contraction. It's taking a moment because this is a pretty large file. I should have made it smaller, but it is what it is. And this is basically a way of contracting or expanding a mask, and you can actually see the result before it happens. When I press Q, you can see the selection. The alternative to that will be going into select, modify, and contract, and you would have to put in a pixel value, but you don't know what like 205 pixels looks like. You don't know what 25 pixels looks like. So you're guesstimating. So by doing it with the minimum filter, you can actually see what 25 pixels would look like. So it's just another way of doing the same thing that, in my opinion, just gives you a visual representation.
I was going to actually ask you about that yesterday when you did the thing to get rid of the fringe on the astronaut. I was wondering if you use select, modify, and then contracted it, if that would give you the same result.
So the short answer to that is no, because the select feature is in modify is for a selection, and we were working with a mask.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
And also, I'll show you. Also, the select feature here, modify and contract, gives you whole numbers. So I couldn't do like 2.5. It just only does whole numbers. I'll just create like a layer and then a mask. And the minimum and maximum, if you set it to roundness, it will give you decimal points, and you also get a preview, and it's working on a mask, not a selection. If you want to make it work on a selection, you have to do that quick mask trick I just showed. So it's similar, but not really the same. Cool. So then now that we have this barn, who knows if it'll work, I'll convert it into a smart object, and I'll bring it over into our composite here. Yeah, and I can already tell the perspective is way off, and I'll close this layer because we don't need it. And we'll see what we got. We'll just bring this down And yeah, that wouldn't work. Like the perspective doesn't work, but we can try to fix it. We'll try to fix it and see where we go. First, we gotta know what the perspective is. And since we're creating this scene from scratch, we can set it wherever we want. So I don't know what would look good. Maybe like right here, that might be my quote unquote horizon line. Yeah. And just to have a visual representation of what that looks like, I'm gonna go into the triangle tool. I have my bend here set to 0, and I have, am I in the right shape and tool? Yep, actually I'm in the wrong tool. Sorry about that, not the triangle tool. I need to go into the polygonal tool. And here we go. I have my bend set to 0 and my sides set to 100. So now I can just click and drag from the line, hold Alt Option on the Mac, and create that grid. So this will be my perspective grid, right?
Wow. So that's awesome.
I'm glad you like that one. I'll call this one first. I can't even spell perspective. Oh man, I should do like some sort of like contest to like people who watch my YouTube channel, if they can find all the layers that I misspell.
I know, I'm the same way. This is a cool trick though, because I've heard multiple people talk about how Photoshop doesn't have any easy perspective grid without setting it up yourself. And like a lot of people will sell them as downloads that you can like put in or whatever, as a plugin. And so this is just like a really nice, simple way, because sometimes you don't need it to be fancy, just need to eyeball it like that.
Right. And exactly. And that's what I'm doing here, right? Like I may change my mind later. I don't know. But this seems like a reasonable place for it to be. Like you could imagine that if you follow these lines, that will be a road. And, you know, like now you can see that this building doesn't match. Yeah. So basically for something to be in perspective, all the parallel converging lines in a scene need to end up at the same horizon line, not necessarily the same vanishing point. We're setting up a 1 point perspective here. We could have 3, it doesn't matter. The point is that they need to land on that horizon line. So if you were to follow the parallel converging lines on this barn, you'll have a gray a horizon line that's down here, clearly not the same as this here. So we need to distort this barn and see if it looks good, because I don't know if it's going to. So we'll see. Edit perspective warp is one way of doing that. You can click and drag and make a grid here like so. And I'm using the lines on the grid and the lines in the barn to align it. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be close enough. And I think something like this might be good. We'll see. All right, something like that probably will work. And then I can click on this warp button, and now I can move each side of the barn to match my grid here. So I can zoom in, and if I decide that the corner of the building will be here, then this line needs to match, and also the corner of the roof here needs to match that same perspective, something like that. And this is definitely more helpful than eyeballing it. And I'm still doing a little bit of eyeballing. I mean, I'm just trying, and this is going to be a difficult part up here. I may have to come in and Photoshop the top of the roof, because it's just a different perspective and we're not going to be able to get it right. So for now, I think I might just leave it where it is. Here's the trick. You can hold shift and notice how the line turns yellow, click, and it straightens those lines, and I can just move the lines together. So something like this. And maybe I can straighten this one too, and then bring it down, and maybe something like that. We'll see how that looks. I can disable the grid. And by the way, I named the grid. I also added a layer. I made it red, right click and select red. So I know where it is at all times. I also locked it so that I don't move it, and I can just enable it and disable it when I need to. And that's what that looks like. And it doesn't look too bad compared to how it looked like before.
Not bad. Can you show a before and after?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
you know, I could probably, you know, at this point, what I would do is I would come in here and then just select this part of the roof, like so, like the original version. and then just copy that. So Control C to copy, and then enable that part, paste that in, and then just manipulate this so that it actually looks better, because that part was very difficult to adjust with, you know, what I had before. So now I can, you know, kind of fill that in a little bit and just make it look a little bit better, because it was sort of difficult to get it right before. And obviously I'm just going super quickly here, but I think you get the idea. And then add a layer mask and paint with black on that mask just to blend those in, like so. And I probably made this way too big. I don't know if I wanted it to be that big, but you know, it is what it is. This is what we have now. So I can just put these into a group, and I can call this barn. And there it is. And by the way, like right now that it's big, but I already spent all this time scaling it and distorting it to be in perspective. If I change the scale, I will get it out of perspective. But here's a trick to scale in perspective. When you press Control T, Command T to transform, we talked about the reference point yesterday. You can click on this box and enable that in. And when I click and drag this, I can place it anywhere that I want, this pivot point, the hinge where it rotates from. So if I place it right on the horizon line there, hold Alt and Shift as I click and drag on the corner handle, I will scale in perspective. See that? So then I can decide where I want it in this scene. So we'll just say that that's good, right about here. There we go.
That was cool. That was really awesome to see.
Oh, somebody in the chat just says that they love my shorts. I've been doing YouTube shorts for every day for the month of February. So
cool.
So if you want to see like 30-second to 60-second Photoshop tutorials, check them out.
I was reading that and I was so confused for a second because I'm like, whose shorts are he talking about? Like, I was like, wait, who's wearing shorts? I get it now.
Yeah, sometimes you read comments, I'm like, I don't know what they mean by that.
I know.
Let's see, what can we add now? We can probably add, you know, we showed how to do birds yesterday by painting them in, but why don't we go into Adobe Stock and actually find a flock of birds, and we can put those in there, and then we can put in a road and maybe a car. See, they already have some isolated ones as well. I don't know if I want to use these, but I'm just looking for something. Oh man, they weren't kidding when they said flock. This ones might have too much detail, but I kind of like them, so I'll license that since it's a free one. When you license something from the Adobe Stock website, you will save it to whatever you set as your default library to save. You can see the manage button here. So this also comes up to save it into your computer. But under the manage button, you can decide what library to save by default. So then now that I've saved those birds onto my computer, we can put them into our composite, but I'll open them up in a new tab so I can work with them independently. Sometimes what I like to do is I just like to look at the channels and see which channel will give me the best contrast between the foreground and background. In this case, the blue channel seems to be the case. This is just a different way of doing the same thing. I could probably get a good result by going into calculations or apply image, but we'll do something different. We'll duplicate the channel, and I can just use the dodge tool with range set to highlights, and then just dodge or make all these areas brighter like so. I know I'm going super quick here. And basically with a mask or a channel, same thing, you show or hide pixels based on the brightness value. Black conceals, white reveals, and different shades of gray give you different levels of opacity. So if you get an area like that where the dodging isn't working, you can always come in and just paint with white. It'll give you the same result as long as you get white. And I'm just trying, this is probably going to be the hardest bird to select, but not too difficult. And also the sky is blue, so it'll, even if you miss a little spot, it'll be okay because we're going to put them up against the blue sky. So it'll be roughly the same color and we won't have to worry about it too much. But I did like the detail in these birds. The birds that we used yesterday were brushes and they didn't have a lot of detail. So we'll just use birds that have detail today. And I think I've talked about this on Adobe Live before, but I teach with my mouse. I rarely use my Wacom, so I really wish I was using my Wacom for this right now. Cool. And here we are. So what I'm doing now is pressing Control I on Windows, Command I on the Mac to invert. And I am not sure we lost Anna. Did we lose Anna? Oh. Hey, everybody. We'll be back in just a moment. We lost Anna, but we'll be right back.
All right, we are back. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm not sure what's happening with my computer today, but I'm having a little bit of bad luck. So, Jesús, as you were.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we're trying to mask these birds. So we got the background black by, I don't know if I showed it or not, but I inverted from a white background to a black background by pressing Control I on Windows, Command I on the Mac. And now I can focus on just making these birds white just by going into image adjustment levels and then just adjusting these sliders. And see that when you do this, you can actually see my mistakes. Let me just darken these areas up so we don't see so much of those mistakes. And I'll press OK. And again, in this video or in this stream, I probably don't want to spend all the time I normally would getting all these details, but I'm going to try to get as much as I can so that it still looks good without spending all that time. Cool. And there we go. We'll call this good. Again, the keyboard shortcut I showed earlier, Control-Alt-6 to load the channel that I'm working on as a selection, which is the 6 that you see here. Go back into RGB, back into the layers panel, and click on the layer mask to mask it out. Looks pretty good, not bad. I'll call this layer birds, and I'll convert it into a smart object just in case I want to come back to it, and then drag it into my working composite. It'd be kind of cool to have like a bird really close to us.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe blur them a little bit.
Yeah. Also, I'll add some in the background, and then I'll add 1 or 2 close to us. So, you know, we have to figure out like where they would be in terms of scale, like how far back, you know, like, so I don't know, maybe about that big there. I'll duplicate the layer. You can duplicate by pressing Control J, and I'll make it larger and then maybe add some closer to us. I don't know. I don't know if this is a good idea anymore, but I'm committed to it now. All right, we'll just leave 1 there for now, and we'll blur it a little bit, as you said. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur should do the job. There we go. And if we don't like it, we can get rid of it later. We talked about atmospheric perspective yesterday. So with these birds, what I'll do is double click to the side of the layer, select color overlay, select the color of the sky where there are more or less. Normal's fine, and then just adjust the opacity, and you can determine, how deep they look in this scene, and that might be too far back. So I don't know, something like that, and we can always come back and make changes. Cool. Maybe we should add a road now. Let me go into stock.adobe.com and bring that in, and I can just add a road. I think that might be just too generic, right? Just maybe I should say something like long road, something that looks really long. And I'm kind of also keeping an eye out for perspective, like something that kind of seems like it would have, like, for example, like this one wouldn't work, right? Because it's too low to the ground. So we're actually kind of high from the ground. So I'm looking for something that could work. And not to say that it wouldn't work, it would just require more work for us to Photoshop. But if we find something that, that might be interesting. Maybe the angle's too high on this one. So I'll license it anyway, just to see. It's one of the free ones, so it's all right. Oh, you know what I thought about? What if we do road, and even if it's like a dirt road, it's okay if we do road and then grass, because then maybe I can blend the grass together somehow.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Like, something like that might be cool.
Like maybe long country road.
Ooh, I like that. Long country road. Oh, this is interesting. I guess we can work with what we have. This is also cool, but not long enough. I guess we can work what we'll... Oh, you know what I was thinking? So what if we do long dirt road, and there might be some grass?
Oh yeah, like that. Even that top one.
This one here?
Or
this one?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
The first row or second row?
The first top one. I'm like pointing at it like you can see me.
That one. Yeah, we can probably make that one work. Oh, and also, you know what? Since I have licenses, I'll just go into all and see what the all section gives me. This one might be interesting. I don't know if it'll be long enough, but this one could be interesting. So I'll license it. Why not? And well, I'm sure we'll use one of these. I just don't want to come back and like search for more if they don't look nice. This one's also cool because it actually turns. So maybe we can do something with the turn. So I'll license it, and that'll be the last one we license. And we might use a couple or all or maybe none. We'll see. We'll see where it takes us.
Question for you. How much time do you spend looking for stock images?
Definitely a lot more time than photoshopping things.
Me too. Oh man, I spend so much time. And then like, do you ever have it where you're looking for one thing for the specific thing that you need, specific composite, and you're like, ooh, that's a good idea. I'm going to make this too. And then I'm going to work on this. Oh, that's cool too. Yeah,
it happens all the time. Spend so much time. And a lot of times I don't even end up using what I found.
Yep, exactly.
Like so like one day we'll be there where like Adobe Sensei could read your mind and it knows what you want, and it'll just pull it right up.
Yep. Yeah, like you could picture it and then it comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's always the hardest thing. You're like, I know what I want, but I don't know how to describe it in words. I'm like, a rock that is out over the ocean, but also kind of far away, but also kind of like close and back.
Right. At this angle.
Yeah.
So now that it's there, I kind of like the angle. I think it works okay for what I want. So I'm going to hold Alt and Windows Option on the Mac and click on the layer mask and hide it. And the reason I'm hiding it is so that I can just paint in the areas that I want. Like so. And, in terms of scale, I think this road might be a little too big compared to that barn. So maybe we'll do something about that. I don't know. But I kind of like how this road is turning. So that
I like that.
Seems kind of cool. Also, it just, I don't know, it just feels weird. There's something weird about it. So let me just scale it and see if that fixes that weirdness that I feel. You know what? I think this road could actually goes this far out. Let's see. Oh yeah, it does. I like that. That's probably what it was. The scale wasn't really there.
Yeah.
But I don't have to worry so much about the masking now because I used a road that has grass and it has a similar angle. And this is why you spend a lot of time sometimes, because you're like, I know that if I find the right thing, I don't have to worry about doing all the work, but the problem is finding the right thing.
Exactly. Ferry wants to know how you found out about photo compositing. Who first told you about it?
Oh God, who first told me about it? All right, so let me think about this. So one of my good friends in high school, still one of my best friends now, which by the way, if you're gonna go to WPPI next month in Las Vegas, I'll be speaking about photo compositing there. My assistant will be my best friend from high school. So this is, his dad was a graphic designer, old school, graphic designer, the type of graphic designers that would like draw and stuff, not like, today with like Illustrator.
Right.
So he wanted to get into the digital world. So he got Photoshop when I was in high school, and I kind of played around with it, but not really. It was like Photoshop version, I want to say version 5.5 or something like that, maybe 6. And I kind of saw the things that you could do. So that's how I found out about it. But then like when I was a little older, I must have been like, I was out of high school for sure. So I must have been 18 or 19. I got a hold of Photoshop version 7, and that's when I started learning.
Oh, that's awesome.
It looks pretty, doesn't look bad. I like that.
I know, that looks good. And I like the little curve to it. It makes it more dynamic.
Yeah, I'm glad we found that. And actually I found this one as well. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to have like some wet areas here. Some puddles. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't, that's okay. And I'm just trying to, get a similar angle. The angle's not that important on something like this, but I still want to have something that's somewhat similar. And we'll see if these puddles work. Well, let's see. So what I'll do is, I guess I'll just mask them out, and actually I'm trying to think of the best way of doing this. Yeah, I'm just going to bring the opacity way down, and I'm going to create a mask here, and I'm just going to paint with black on the things that I want so I can see them, and then I'll invert it. There we go. We're gonna have to do a lot of like color correction to get this right, but I'm committed to it at this point, so we'll see if it works.
I know that's the only thing with live streaming. Once you decide something, you have to commit.
I can't be like, no, guys, sorry.
Never mind.
Never mind.
And
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please tell me.
I was just gonna say, how often do we end up doing that when we're actually just sitting at our desk compositing? I put something in, throw it out, put something in, throw it out, like over and over and over again.
Yeah. And the worst part is like, well, there went 3 hours because I'm not going to use any of this.
Yep, exactly. Oh man, I know, when everyone's like, how long does it take you to composite an image? I'm like, well, once I have all the pieces and everything works, like not that long, but
right.
It's deciding what I'm doing.
But up until that point.
Yeah. Weeks, months, years.
Yeah. So I'm currently using the blend diff because I noticed that there's dark pixels here. So I'm hiding the dark ones while keeping the brighter ones. And I think this might help me create a mask easier than doing it another way. So we'll see. I don't know if I like that so much anymore, but it seemed like a cool, it doesn't look that bad when you look at it from that angle. I think that the angle is not really working. So let me change the angle a little bit, and I think that might help it look better. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we don't have to use it, but something like that. We got just a little bit of water. I don't know. I'm okay with it. Well, I might decide that I don't like it later on, but we'll see. And actually, one of the reasons I don't like it is because I feel that there is no depth to it. So if I were to maybe put it into a smart object and then add like a bevel and emboss and then, you know, push it down, that might, you know, make it look better. So I can use maybe one of these highlights and one of these shadows here and adjust it accordingly. You know, and I kind of like it better now that it has some depth before and after. So we'll keep it for now, but again, who knows? Cool. What was the other thing we downloaded? Did we download? Oh, we got the birds, we got the barn. I don't think we need any of these other roads. I think we need more buildings, or maybe a car. So why don't we put a car in here? What kind of car would be cool to put on this thing? Any suggestions from the chat? Let me know what else you guys want to see on here.
Yeah, let us know. Trying to think. Maybe it needs to be a tractor.
Sure, let's do a tractor. I like that idea. Yeah. I'm just gonna do images and I'll do tractor.
I also think we have to put a pig into this scene because I love pigs. And this makes me think of Babe.
Let's do pigs. Let's definitely do a pig. I'll do a pig first. Oh my God.
Cuties. I love pigs.
This one might be cool, but I don't know about the lighting. Here's a trick. I don't know if it'll work, but if you type in the word isolated, like you'll get what you're looking for with a solid background. So maybe this guy that's looking at us, I don't know.
They're so cute.
I'll save them. Let's see. You kind of have to think about the angle too. So isolated may not work here because they're all like super close. So maybe, I don't know. We have one for sure. So we'll find another one.
So people are saying for the car, tractor, with a farmer, swamp buggy, old pickup truck. And then people suggested that the barn needs some shadows. We could probably do that after. And then some trees in the scene and then a cow.
All right.
So we're making like old McDonald's farm here.
Awesome. I think we can now go into select subject, select the pig, mask it, and you can scale it down. I want the pig to be really noticeable, so I'm going to place it closer to the edge so that it can be bigger and it doesn't mess with the scale. Yeah, here in the corner might be good. Just hanging out. And something that we talked about.
Cute.
Something that we talked about yesterday that I really haven't done today is I like to create a black and white adjustment layer just so I can see the luminosity of the things that I have. And by the way, here's a keyboard shortcut that you guys might like. No matter where in the layer stack a layer is, like I'm gonna put it way down here. We'll put it at the very bottom. You can hold Control Shift and the right bracket key. That's Command Shift and the right bracket key on a Mac to jump the layer all the way to the top of the layer stack. So as you can see, the road might be a little too bright. The pig is definitely too bright. Everything else seems all right. So we can just work with that a little bit. So I'm gonna call this layer pig, and we'll do curves. I think we've been doing levels a little too much. No, there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to show something different. Something like this, I think, works good. We'll see. Before and after. Let's see what that looks without that. All right. It looks like it's still, I'm not too happy with it, but it's definitely a little better. We'll call that good for now.
Yeah.
So before and after, and then I can always come back and make changes. And the road was also a little too bright, I thought. So let me create And we'll go with levels now, just because we did curves in the other example. And again, there's nothing wrong with doing any of that, but I don't know. I just feel like we need to do something different. And actually, in this case, I was affecting, because the layers are clipped, I was affecting everything, and I don't want to do that. I just want to affect this layer. But since this is a smart object, I can still go into image adjustment levels from here, and it will be non-destructive, and it will only affect this layer. What happened here? Where did I don't know where my window went for levels. So that's so weird.
That's weird.
Yeah. That is so weird. Now I'm glitching.
Uh-oh. I feel like it's every time we talk about outer space, we have glitches. This happened last time we streamed together when we did like Headless Horseman and we put like a big moon in. Remember, it all shut down? I had a power outage.
Yes, I remember.
Oh man, we're cursed.
We are. That is so weird. So like the levels adjustment is not coming up, and I'm not sure why. And it's not on my other screen. I just checked.
What if you try like a different type of adjustment? Does that come up? Is it just levels?
Let's see. We'll try, I don't know. We'll do something different. We'll try vibrance. Oh, see, vibrance came up. That's so weird.
The pig's like, keep me bright.
There we go. It was actually hiding under the zoom, like under our faces, because that's on top of everything. Here we go. So yeah, I was trying to work on this road. So I'm just making the road a little bit darker so it's not so different than everything else. I mean, it will have to be brighter just because of the color that it is, but it can't be that much brighter. You know, like something like that. And we'll see what that looks like. Cool. And, you know, like once you start getting this deep into the composite, you can also start making other adjustments. Like I'm not 100% happy with the green of that grass, you know, so this is where you can start getting creative, and I can just go into greens and maybe make adjustments to that. And it's probably more in the yellows rather than the greens. Yeah. So maybe warm it up a little bit so it's not so green, make it seem more like, I don't know, I feel like grass is not really that green. It's more on the yellows, something like that. And, you know, you can make whatever adjustments that you want. We'll get to the shadows towards the end, but one of the other suggestions, your suggestion was a tractor, which I like that idea, and also an old truck. So let's try to add both. So tractor. And like this image wouldn't work just because of the perspective. When you look at an image, like, so what I'm looking at now is you can see the horizon line here on this image, for example. The horizon line for this image cuts the tractor right in the middle. For that to be in perspective with our scene, the tractor would need to be huge. So we're looking for an image that the horizon line is towards the top of the tractor, ideally above it, which may be easier, may be difficult. I don't know. You know, so if I can't find something fast, we'll just are gonna have to deal with what we have. What I'll do is, and sometimes this works for a shot like this, sometimes it doesn't. I just type in the word aerial, and maybe somebody has like a drone footage or something. See, like these are too high, but like something like this might work. So I'm just gonna save it. I'm gonna put the little heart on it to save it. And see, like this one may work, but I don't like all that dust. All right, so the one that I downloaded is the one we'll go with, just because I don't want to spend all day looking at aerial shots of tractors. And here we go. I'm sure we can make this work. We can make everything work. I'm gonna license it so that I'm actually using the high resolution version of it. Thanks to our good friends at Adobe Stock.
Yes. I'm running out of licenses. I start to get like nervous around the point where I reach like 20. I'm like, oh God, I only have 20 left. Yeah, me too. I'm like, oh no, what do I do? I know. It's nerve-wracking. I need like a lifetime subscription or something.
Yeah. Hint, hint to the people at Adobe listening.
Hint, hint. I'll take that for my my birthday.
When's your birthday?
Not till December, so maybe I need something sooner.
Yeah. December. Mine is in September.
Oh, nice. Nice fall birthday.
So I was doing some research on the most popular birthdays, and it turns out that I was born on the most popular birthday, and that really annoys me.
What day were you born?
September 9th.
Oh, that's my wedding anniversary is September 8th. So
oh, cool.
Popular few days there.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out how I can incorporate this into what we're doing. So, you know, with this layer mask. So like, I want to have the layer mask for this plane here, the ground plane where it's sitting, but I don't want it on the actual tractor because I want to have the flexibility of moving it around. So what I'll do is I'll create a group, put that layer mask there. I can still call this group tractor. And then just drag this guy in here and just move him around accordingly. So maybe something like this. And the pig is about to get hit, so we're gonna have to move the pig elsewhere. So I guess we can put the pig here, like right here. And I'm just trying to see how I'm going to incorporate this into what we have. What I could probably do is, all right, I changed my mind. I'm just gonna hide this and paint with white, and we'll see how that looks. And obviously I'm gonna make a better mask once I'm happy with the results, but I just wanted to see what we had. Okay. Here we go. All right, that doesn't look too terrible. Cool. Yeah, I think this could work. Let me see.
Sweet. I feel like it needs to tilt back a little bit. I don't know. Is that wrong?
I mean, sure, it's not wrong or right. It's just
well, perspective wise, like I feel like
let's see, let's take a look at it. Yeah, see, like the horizon line is it's not super off, but maybe off enough that it doesn't feel right. And that's something that happens with perspective. Like things don't feel right. You don't know what it is, but you just know that something is not right. So maybe that's a little bit, and it's also probably too big too. So maybe I can just scale him down a little bit. Yeah, because compared to that barn, he looks huge. So maybe this could be like a small detail, like back here instead of so prominent in our scene.
Yeah, I almost feel like that seems better.
Yeah,
I have a hard time with perspective sometimes. Like I'm like, it doesn't feel right, but it is in perspective, or it's totally not, but I like the way it looks. Like I don't know. I get kind of confused with it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? It either looks right or it doesn't. And yeah, you can be following all the rules and it just doesn't look right.
Yep. I remember in art school, we had to draw a tractor in I think it was 1 point perspective or 2 point, I forget. But we had to like look at a little toy tractor and then draw it and get the wheels perfectly shaped. And it doesn't sound like it's that hard, but it was one of the hardest projects I did all through school because every little circle on there had to be perfectly in perspective too, every line. And oh man, our professor was tough. She was like, oh, you missed this tiny nut here. You missed this window line. And
sounds more like an architecture project than
yeah, I'm like, why? I didn't need to learn that.
There we go. So a little happy tractor in the back. It actually looks better in the back. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that. Maybe we could make some little lines coming out from behind, like it's raking the grass.
Yes, I like that. Let me just, I think it's got too much contrast for where it is in our scene. Maybe let me see the actual image. What does it have? All right, so the actual image has some little rake lines. Let me see if I can use the ones from the actual tractor. What I'll do is I'll just work with a new layer just so that I can change colors or do something else if need be. But here's the little lines that it's creating.
That's cool.
Just wish it was a little longer, but that's okay. We can make it work. I'm just gonna duplicate this and just move it over right here and then hide the tractor.
Paul wants to know if you can save a perspective path to load on each image.
So I don't know what they mean by perspective path. You can save a vanishing point filter path. I don't know if that's what they're referring to, but you know, there's, let me see, how can I show you how this works? I'm gonna create a new layer. I'm also gonna just type in the word logo, and I don't know, I guess we'll use the Premiere logos, and that's actually, we'll use this shark. Oh, you know what? No, we'll use Photoshop's logo. See, I didn't want to open it up in Illustrator, but we'll use this Photoshop logo, and I'll just copy it, right? And what you can do with perspective, and I don't know if this is what they're referring to, but under the filter menu, you can go into the vanishing point filter, and then you can just trace the perspective. And I'm just getting the front face, not necessarily like following the edges of the building, but rather the face of the building. And you know what? I'm not happy with it. I'm gonna have to start over again. If I select this face here and then come out with this face. Wow, I'm having so much trouble drawing these perspective lines today. Why is that?
I've never actually used this technique, so I am very curious to see what's going to happen here.
Let's see if I can get it to work. There's got to be something wrong with what I'm doing. All right. Since this one didn't work, I'm going to go with an image that I know it does work, and maybe it's because it's a large image. I don't know. I'm going too fast. But I do have a photo of this bag, and I know it works on this one because I've done it a bunch of times with this one. But basically, I'm just going to make this a lot smaller just because, you know, I don't want Photoshop to slow down on me while I'm trying to show the technique. But basically, the thing that you can save that has to do with perspective is the perspective grid. So when you go into the vanishing point filter, you can set up a plane like this one. And if you get red like I got there, it means that you are not tracing the perspective accurately. So make sure it's in blue. And then you can hold control and drag these points out like so. And the reason that you want to do this is so that you can paste a logo or anything you want in there, and it's in perspective. See that? See how it's in perspective? And I can just place it anywhere I want. So that perspective grid will save once I apply this. Every time I go back into it, I have my vanishing point, and there it is. And you can also export it to these types of files, including an After Effects file. So you can take this into After Effects and animate something using the perspective grid. But I don't know if that's what they meant, but that's one of the few perspective grids that you can save in Photoshop or export.
Cool. Let us know if that helped, Paul.
And usually what you want to do is, since I'm talking about it, is create a new layer so that you work non-destructively. So then you can go into the vanishing point filter again, and then, put in your logo or whatever it is. And I need to be with the move tool here. Oops, see, I was in the wrong tool. So filter, vanishing point, paste that in there. And then with the move tool, I can just, I accidentally deleted the perspective grid in the last one. Anyway, the point is you can put the perspective grid, you can paste it on the blank layer so that you work non-destructively. But yeah, I hope that helped, Paul.
Yeah.
Let me see, come back to this. And what I'm doing here is I'm looking for this layer because I'm going to apply a levels adjustment layer. And I'm just going to brighten it up a little bit, but then I'm going to hide all the adjustments in that layer and just paint with white on these darker areas to kind of match it better, so that there's no like strong shadow or anything like that on that area. And obviously it's not perfect, but I think you get the idea. And this is looking pretty good. Usually I like to work non-destructively, but in this case, I don't think it's necessary to work non-destructively with these pieces, just because I just don't see the point. So I'm just going to merge all that into a layer by pressing Control E. And I'm going to, with the brush tool, we talked about it yesterday. If you hold the tilde key, you can just erase. So I'm erasing the extra pixels that I don't need. Actually, I shouldn't do that. You know why? Because I'm not sure if I'm going to come back and do some painting under the tractor. So instead I'll paint with black. And that looks pretty good. And I'll convert this into a smart object. So that's my trail there. And I can go into edit, puppet warp, and I can just add these pins and I can just stretch this out. And maybe, I don't know, maybe he made a turn or something. We'll see if this works. Yeah, he's just going off along the side there. And maybe he made a turn. And if you click on one of these points and hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, you can get this rotation.
Whoa.
Circle. You can just rotate.
What was the shortcut on that again?
Clicking on the pin, Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac.
Gotcha.
And now he's like, just going along his little path there. He just started. And I'll create a layer mask, paint with black. Just trying to see where I want to hide some of these pixels. And obviously I can come in here and do a better job blending this area here, but maybe this is where he started. I don't know. There we go.
Yeah. Looking
and
cool.
maybe I can place something there so that it hides that seam. Something that I haven't done yet that maybe we should work on is the rocks that are going to go here. So maybe I could go back into Adobe Stock, select dirt rocks, I guess, and just see what could go in that area. I mean, all these will probably do okay. Like this one would definitely do well. So I'll just license this one. But yeah, this is it, guys. This is basically what compositing is all about. I'm sure you do it all the time, Anna.
Yeah, I always love seeing you work though, because it's cool how you'll just like take random things on here and put them in and like make it work. And it's inspiring to me because I'm like very timid with some things. So like, oh, I've never used the tractor before. I don't think I want to use that, or I end up being more cautious. So this is a good reminder to me to get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, it takes some time, right? It's not like I was always doing it, but at some point I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? We'll use a tractor.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? Now that I'm looking at this, maybe I want this to be a little bit thicker so I can maybe just nudge this thing down. And then since we used a path for this, I can always come back and readjust my path so that it fits better. Like so. And you were talking about painting earlier. Sometimes I do paint. Like for example, what I would do in this case is on this blank layer, just add maybe some shadows, select that color there, and then just manually paint it in, because not, even though like layer styles and all that are good, it doesn't always, things are not always so perfect. Sometimes you have to paint things in. And again, I don't have my Wacom, even though it's like 3 feet away from me.
So you're using a mouse?
I'm using a mouse at the moment.
Wow, impressive. I was gonna ask you that earlier.
I got pretty good with the mouse, and then eventually I got a Wacom, and I'm still very good with the mouse. But at the end of the day, the Wacom tablet gives you pressure sensitivity, and it's just easier to paint some things in.
Yeah. I have yet to cross over into the Wacom land. I should do it, but I end up just using my trackpad, and everyone makes fun of me for it.
Well, it's impressive. I'll say that. And you know what? I don't know. There's something, I think there's too much detail in there. So what I'll do is this. I'll scale it down even further. Like so. And then just hold Alt on Windows Option in the Mac and just duplicate it over and over again, like so. And then that way, the detail is smaller and the scale kind of works. I thought the scale was a little too much. Oops, it's a little too much. That looks a little bit better. And one of the things that we will have to do at some point is come in here, and these edges are way too sharp, right? So what we could do is do something like, I think we have a grass brush in here. Grass, like maybe this brush here will work. Let me just try it. Yeah, that should work. If I select, a couple different colors, because that brush uses 2 colors to paint. See that? I don't know if I like that orange there, but maybe what I could do is keep this one bright green, and then it won't give me so much orange. Yeah, that's probably okay. And it's going to be so small that, we can probably get away with it. But the point is that when I paint, I can get some of that smaller detail. And I still don't like, there's too much yellow.
Is there a way to change that?
Yeah, there is. I should have just done that. And you can go to color dynamics and bring the jitter down a little bit. And that. Cool. So yeah, there is. I was just being lazy, but that's the way you do that. And the other thing I should do now that I'm there is under brush tip, I could probably flip it in the y-axis so that it paints down, and maybe go into direction, and that should give me, okay, direction. Okay, yeah, so if I go from left to right, it paints down. If I go from right to left, it paints up. All right, cool. So now that I have that, I could come in here, and just follow along the edges. Something like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. I can go in there and fine tune it, do all kinds of things. This is one way of doing it. The other way of doing it would actually be to go into the actual layer, this one here, and I can duplicate that. I don't need it to be clipped, but I will clip it just so I can drag it up and everything stays and it doesn't break. But I can place it, I'm going to place it just on top of the layer stack. I'll hide everything by holding Alt and Windows Option in the Mac. And with that same brush, I can paint with white on both sides, and then it creates that effect you see there. So either method will work.
Oh yeah, I think that looks better because it gets like kind of the shadows of the grass, so it looks real.
Yeah. And you see, like, sometimes I have an idea if I'm going to do something and it doesn't look as good. I'm like, all right, we'll try something else.
Yep.
And these are the tiny little details that you have to do. And here we would have to use a different type of brush, but we'll get to that. And I just want to make sure.
That looks good.
Cool. And then we should do the same thing up here. I already forgot. We said right to left looks, yeah, right to left. So then I guess the back here, it's okay if it's perfectly smooth because it's so far away that you wouldn't be able to see
Right.
the tiny little details, but I'm just adding just a little bit just to create like that, you really wouldn't see the blades. But maybe here you would. I think those are too tall.
Maybe you could put a little tiny bit at the end of the tractor trail.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Blends it in.
Good call. I know nothing about farming, and somebody's going to tell me you wouldn't use a tractor that way. There we go.
Yeah.
Looking much, much better. And we talked about this yesterday. Like at this point, what I usually like to do is press Control Alt Shift E on Windows, Command Option Shift E on the Mac to basically do a copy merge into any layer of everything. If you don't remember the keyboard shortcut, you can just smash your forehead up against the keyboard and I'm sure you'll hit them. It's Control Alt Shift E and convert it into a smart object, go into filter, camera raw filter, and from here I can already start deciding how my final composite would look. I don't have any shadows. Maybe we can do that next and maybe add a few more things. I think in this case I do want to warm it up a little bit, maybe bring down the highlights and increase the shadows a little bit, increase the texture, maybe clarity, vibrance. I really want it to stand out. We'll do sharpening, add a little bit of masking. Again, hold Alt on Windows, Option in the Mac to actually see what you're masking. White will apply the sharpening effect to everything. And when you hold Alt or Option and drag to the right, you'll see the pixels that you're targeting. So basically the edges, and that's what I want. And you can see the difference that this is making. And I can go into the Effects tab, add a little bit of grain. I always like adding grain because when you do so much photoshopping, things could look blurry and you're stretching pixels and they don't look, like a photo would. And photos will have even just a tiny little bit of grain, just a tiny little bit. So I just add, maybe like 5 so you can barely see the grain and it doesn't look so digital. And maybe add another layer of darkening with a vignette just to focus our eye into the center there. And I think I like this for now and press OK. And then this is what I usually do. I kind of see what the final outcome is going to be and I can work accordingly. And I just disable that. And as you saw yesterday, I can replace the contents and the filters will still be there. We haven't really decided on a light source really, which is probably not a good idea at this point. We should have had a light source to begin with. But, we can put a light source maybe here because the barn has a shadow here. So the sun is probably coming from this side. And I guess we'll use the same thing we did yesterday. I think we used a lens flare for that. We used one of these guys. So maybe we can try this flare and we'll see how that looks. Just something off to the side there. Change the blending mode to screen, and then I can adjust this accordingly. Maybe from up here, make it a little larger. Add a layer mask because there's a harsh line here at the bottom, and then just paint with black using a soft brush. And I know I have one here. Cool. And at least we have our little light source. If you want to add a little bit of color to that, you can always create a hue and saturation adjustment layer, clip it to the layer below, colorize it, and then maybe make it like yellow or something and adjust it accordingly and see if
that's fun. I like that.
If that works for you. I don't know. I think, yeah, maybe just a little orange, just a little color, not that much. And there we go. And, you know, it might be, now that I'm looking at it, it might be too strong, right? So maybe I can reduce the intensity by darkening it a little bit. And when you're darkening the layer, you're making it more invisible because the screen blending mode hides the darker pixels. So if you make it darker, it becomes less prominent. Cool. All right.
Looks like you have a little line that showed up at the bottom of the
oh, I see it. I see
flare.
it. Yeah, thank you. Good eye. There we go. Actually, I think I hit more of the lens flare than I wanted to, but you got to get rid of that line. Awesome. I'm still not 100% happy with this lens flare, but you know what? You can darken it up, and there we go. That's a little bit better. So now that we have our light source, we can determine more or less where the shadows will be. So let me just find that section here. And I know it's not going to be perfect, but you know, it is what it is. There's actually you were talking about perspective drawing, a perspective drawing technique that we can actually figure out like exactly how the light source would be. Mm-hmm. But that would take like 5 minutes. So I'll just guesstimate.
How do you do that?
So we have our light source right up here. Let me just, since asked.
Now you have to show it.
Well, yeah, we'll see if I get it right.
Or so do you want to, I just realized that we're at the artist spotlight. Do you want to do that and show afterwards?
Yeah, we'll show that afterwards because it does take some time. But the last thing that I'll do is I'll just blur this a little bit. And then let's look at the artist spotlight for the day. I know I had it queued up, but then we've done so much work today that I don't know which tab it's under, but the art, here it is. The artist is Melody Nieves, and she is from Connecticut.
Congratulations, Melody.
Yeah, congratulations. Multidisciplinary artist and writer. That's a skill I don't have, clearly by my layer names.
Same. Oh, this is beautiful work. I looked at it a little bit before the stream, and it's just so cool.
It is fantastic. Why don't we take a look at her latest work and see what she's been up to lately. This is called A Still Life Adventure. Ooh, cool. Oh my God, I love how he's wearing a hat. Super cute.
So cool.
Oh, and then I guess she has a breakdown maybe? Oh yeah. I love watching breakdowns because I get to see how people create stuff.
Me too. Yeah, it's really fun seeing it all come together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, cool. She's like painting the cracks on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and she, oh my gosh, she drew those in. I thought that is really cool. I thought that she just, got a stock photo of a, hat with goggles on it.
Yeah. But... Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. She's
wow. It added a little strap.
Super cool.
Wow.
All right, so now that I'm seeing that she painted most of this, it's actually even way more impressive. It was impressive to begin with, just looking at the image, but now realizing that she painted in all that detail, that's truly amazing.
I'm gonna have to take a closer look at that after the stream because that's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, look at this one. The lady in the tram, realistic photo manipulation.
Oh wow.
That is really cool. That's a really good idea, taking a famous cartoon and then photoshopping it using real photos.
Yeah.
So now I'm wondering, what did she draw here? Is the table drawn in?
I know. I want to see the whole process. I just brought her stuff up on my screen so I can watch it later. I want to watch the full time lapses that she has.
Definitely. Let's see what else she has.
Click on that time terrarium.
This one here?
No, up next to the down a little.
Oh, this one here. See it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Can we make a living Oh, this is so cool.
Wow. Oh man, I love that.
And again, did she paint the water in and then animated the water?
I know. I have so many questions. Melody, are you watching this?
Yeah, let us know. Oh, here we go. We're gonna find out on this video. Oh, I guess she's talking about it. There she is. I'm gonna skip ahead. Oh, okay, so she's talking about her entire process and putting it together. Do you sketch? It looks like she sketches her ideas.
That's super cool. I do sketch my ideas, but I do it on my iPad.
Cool.
Oh, that's cool. So she's putting together. Wow.
And then using the hue and saturation to match the colors. Fantastic. So I didn't get to see, but it looks like the water is not hand painted, but still looks amazing. I'm trying to get to the animation part. I'm wondering if she animated that with like After Effects or something.
Yeah, I wonder.
Oh, she did it in Photoshop. This is
the Photoshop. Oh my God.
That's really cool.
Okay, that's impressive. I find it really difficult to animate in Photoshop other than like simple little things. So cool.
Fantastic work. She lives in Connecticut. Cool. Let me see. I'm guessing this is a digital painting.
Oh yeah, so she definitely has like a painting background.
Definitely.
So impressive. Oh my God, these are incredible.
Very, very good.
She has a full-length course. Okay, well, I know what I'm doing this afternoon.
I'm gonna see some portraits on your Instagram pretty soon.
Yeah. Oh, that one's really cool. Oh, I love that too. Oh my God, I'm obsessed.
I love the cars.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Wow.
Super cool.
I'm just like totally mesmerized right now.
Great work. What is this one here? Double exposure.
Oh, cool.
This one's really cool.
Yeah, I love that. And the two-tone, that's sweet.
We'll look at this, how to make a flyer. I guess she has tutorials on Behance as well. Super work. Great work. It's fantastic.
Yeah, amazing job, Melody. Hope you'll get a chance to listen to this or rewatch it. So don't forget, everyone, that you can submit yourself or a friend for the Artist Spotlight. If you click next to the chat in the other tab, you'll see it says Artist Spotlight, and you can submit your work and maybe you'll be featured on one of our streams.
Yeah, you can be featured just like Melody has been featured today.
Yeah, it's a great way to get some new eyes on your work, maybe get some new followers on Instagram, meet some new friends. Always helpful.
Definitely. Cool. Wow. Well, Melody, great job on all these, and I just love her paintings. I had to go back and click on it.
I'm like so amazed by these.
Yeah, this is my favorite series that she has right here. These portraits. Fantastic work.
I think I wonder if she sells prints, because I have to buy that gold one for sure. I have in my studio upstairs, I have a whole wall of art from female artists that I admire. And it's funny because, I don't do portraits at all in my art, but that's the only stuff I have on my wall, minus like a few little dreamy-scapes. But for some reason, I just love looking at the painted portraits. I'm like, oh, so cool.
They look amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe she can do some NFTs like you are.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, Melody.
Yeah, thank you so much. And everybody, don't forget to submit for possible future showcases here on Behance.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, back to Photoshop.
Back to Photoshop. All right, so okay, so I wasn't really planning on doing this, so now I gotta make sure I like say things without, giving out wrong information. So basically, if you're gonna find out the perspective of a shadow, you need to know where the horizon line is, which we already do know is this line that we made here earlier. And we also need to know where the light source is, more or less. And we're just going to say the light source is here, although it's not 100% accurate, just for the purposes of the demonstration. That's where the light source will be. And we need to just trace a whole bunch of lines, linear perspective, right? Like linear drawings. I'll just make this red. And we need to basically trace a line to the edges from the light source here, and a corner here, and we'll see if I do this right. And then, I don't know, another one here from the top, and another one here for that corner. I'm trying to make sure I get all the corners, or at least all the main corners, something like that. So all these are coming up. And actually, let me make sure that I put them all into one layer, and that all these layers are at the very top, because I'm going to just use these right there. So that's where my light source is. And I got to do the same thing basically from the bottom side where the horizon line is, but directly below the light source. So I guess I can just do it on this layer here, and then just try to hit all those corners as well. Try to hit the same corners as well. And I should have made them a different color. I guess I could change them. And I know I don't really have to worry about that one there. Oh man. All right. I don't even know if I got all the corners right, but let me just see. I'll put them into one layer now. Yeah, all these guys are from the top, and then we have these from the bottom, and I might have missed one or two, but that's okay. So basically, now that I have all these that theoretically are the same corners, and I'll make them blue so that we could see these guys. Whoops. Yeah, these guys, we'll make them a different color. We'll make them blue. So now I can come in here and I'll just trace it with black. And like wherever these corners meet, that's theoretically the shadow in perspective. So maybe here, and then here, and then here, and then like here, and then there's one here, like something like that, like, so that's basically, I think I might have missed one part. Which one did I miss? Oh, because there's one that's off. Here we go. There's one that's like off here somewhere that we can't really see, like all the way out here. And then we would come back like to this one like this or something. But anyway, we'll call that good. So as you can see, the one that I guesstimated was nowhere near what it should be, right? But like nobody ever spends this much time trying to figure out the perspective of the shadow, and that's totally cool. But that's more or less the shadow in perspective, and
that's so interesting. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it takes I never do it this way, so
yeah, just kind of eyeball it.
Yeah. But if you wanted to do it, that's basically how you do it. You find where the light source is, you find the horizon line, draw a point down from the light source to the horizon line, and then you follow the edges on both, and tracing lines, and then wherever they meet, that's kind of like where you trace the shadow, kind of like I did here. And it's not perfect, right? But it's more accurate to that light source than anything. I'm sorry?
Would this take into account, like, if you're drawing the line from your light source and your horizon, would it take into account like the time of day based on where the sun is?
Well, yeah. I mean, so to answer your question specifically, the time of day where the sun is right here where the light source is, right? So if the sun
Right.
was lower, it would be a different time of day. So then I would,
And
you
then
know,
it would,
trace,
yeah. That's cool.
And the lower the sun is, the longer the shadows are.
Right. Yeah, so I guess that makes sense. If it was lower, I'd be like, I'm gonna have to play with that. That's fun.
Okay, so see, like now I have to also take into account the other thing I did there with these shadows. So I guess I can place that here and then make a selection around that, mask it, and then set the opacity to like multiply. Oh, I should have not made it black. But that's okay. Here's the trick for you guys. If you select a color like, you know, a dark green, and if you just fill, like it fills the entire layer, right? What I did there was press Control Alt and backspace to fill with the foreground color, which fills the entire layer. But if you just hold the Shift key in that keyboard shortcut, so Alt, Shift, and backspace, you fill only on the pixels that are opaque, not the transparent pixels. So it's like a quick way of filling. And I don't think something I didn't take into account was where the like the back part of this thing would be. So in reality, it'll probably be more like this, you know. But you know, I was sort of guesstimating the back part, and I didn't do that good of a job. But anyway, I'll leave it where it was. But just know that it's not 100% perfect, and that's okay.
Do you have a tutorial on this on your YouTube?
You know what? I don't know if it's on. I don't know if I posted this specific thing on YouTube, but I did post it on my compositing course on my website. That's definitely on there.
Okay.
Oh, and then I have that other shadow that we're not going to use. Where is it?
Down.
Oh, see the trick I showed you guys yesterday. Hopefully I named the layer. See, this is why I didn't name the layer. I should have named the layer.
There it is.
There it is. Yep, I got it right. Cool. And now I can continue with this shadow. Did I call it shadow? Of course not. I think it might be that one.
There it is.
Call it shadow. But that's why you want to name your layers. One of the reasons, at least. But anyway, so that looks a little bit better than what we had before, just because it's in perspective. And, you know, I guesstimated, and I clearly didn't do that good of a job.
Hey, it looks pretty good. Yeah, this looks awesome. Really, really interesting technique.
There we go. I'm just smoothing it out so it's not so obvious. But, you know, we can keep playing with this as much as we want until we get something that looks good to our eye. But now that we established the shadow for that, we also need to do it for everything else, right? We need to do it for the pig here. And for that one, I'm just going to draw it in. You know, just that one I can just assume that pig kind of shadow like that looks like this, more or less. I got to do a lot of more dodging and burning for the pig to look better. And I'm also going to guesstimate on the tractor here. It's not necessarily looking the way I want it to look, but that's okay. I think you're right. It does feel a little tilted.
Yeah. But, you know, maybe he's up on a little hill on a rock or something.
Yeah, something. There we go. Let's see where we're at, because I know we don't have a lot of time. So I'm just going to copy merge everything. You can also press Control Shift C and I'll paste it here. Yeah, and I mean, this is already looking much better with all the extra detail we're adding. And now that I'm looking at this, I actually I'm gonna place it above everything else. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I think I might want to add one more thing, and I think we mentioned the truck earlier, so let's see if I can find the truck. How much time do we have? Like 5 minutes or so?
Yeah, a little less.
Old truck. Hopefully we can find something that looks good.
That top red one could be cool, like he's at the end of the road or something.
This one here?
No, at the very top. I don't want to influence your idea.
Oh no, I'd rather take your challenge. Which one are you talking?
The top one with the back facing us.
Okay, cool. I see what you're saying. All right. We're probably gonna have to put that one in the back, but whatever. We'll make it work. We'll make it work.
What about the one?
Oh no, I was gonna say I like challenges. So
okay.
So we'll see. Because if I go for the easy thing, I know it'll work, but I don't know if this is gonna work.
Yeah.
So I'll just open it up in a new layer. Oh, you know what? We could have added to a tree. I forgot to add a tree.
Yeah.
And you kind of did me a solid because the car is on grass, so I don't have to worry about that. And I'm using the quick selection tool. I'm sure that the object selection tool would have worked in this case, but hadn't really used a quick selection tool in this stream yet. All right, that should be good for now. And whatever doesn't work, that's okay. We can fix later. So create a layer mask, convert it into a smart object, and bring that up. Yeah, he is on a hill or something there. All right, so we could probably do the same trick we used earlier for perspective, just so that we can actually put the truck here like on the dirt road. Actually, probably not. Trying to figure out what the best way. I'm just gonna leave it larger for now, and we'll see if the perspective warp technique works in this case. So I'll create my grid for the back here. I like that you created a challenge for me here, Anna.
I know. So while Jesus is working on that, just want to remind everyone that after the Creative Encore Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge, that's a mouthful, joins Shauna Lynn and Andrew Hockrattle as they design custom gear in Photoshop and Illustrator.
Cool.
That will be coming up after this. So if you have a creative free day today, stick around and watch some of the stuff coming up next. And then fortunately, we don't have day 3 coming up after this. So it will have to be next time Jesus and I get together for a fun Photoshop session.
Yeah. Maybe we can meet up in the East Coast, wherever that is.
Yeah, wherever the East Coast is. I know. I really hope to get back out to California soon.
Yeah. Is that the last time I saw you in person when you were here in California for Adobe Live before the lockdown?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I haven't done any events or anything in person really in so long. So
right.
Need to get back out there.
So the perspective on this car was unfortunately too different, but I think we can make it work. It's pretty big now. And we kind of got it there, and it's an old truck also. So maybe it's like damaged or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm going to convert it into a smart object again, just so that I don't have to worry about, changing the perspective or anything again by accident. And, whoops, I hate it when I accidentally, oh no, that doesn't look terrible. There we go.
Pretty good.
We got our nice little truck there. And you know what? I guess I'll bring it closer to us because of scale, and maybe even make it that's good. I think we can get away with it. I mean, the whole point is creating these worlds that are unrealistic, but realistic enough that it could be a photo.
Exactly. I know sometimes I'm like, it's art. I can get away with it.
Right. There we go. And you know what? Just to give it a little more depth, what I'll do is I'll take this clouds layer, I'll duplicate it, and I'll come to the very, very top. I could use that keyboard shortcut I told you about earlier, but I didn't. And then just make this larger. And oh, my layer mask, I'm like, why isn't it showing? Layer mask, here we go. And yeah, it's at the top of the layer stack, and then just, okay, cool. Well, this is it right here, Anna. I know we have to wrap up now.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome job. Beautiful composite. Came out really fun. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed it. Jesus, thanks. As always, it was great to see you. And we will see you all soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.